Before reviewing our Constitution, we need to understand some presuppositions that are necessary for a proper interpretation. The application of the preamble provides for the common defense, promotes the general welfare, securing of our liberty. These are important things that the Constitution is supposed to do. And then we must remember that the federal government is authorized to do only those few things that we, the people in the states, cannot easily do for ourselves, period. The states and the people were very jealous of the freedoms that they fought for during the Revolutionary War. They didn't want to give any more freedoms away than they had to. And when you give power to another government, you lose freedoms in that area. So they wanted to limit the amount of freedoms that they had, so they gave the federal government only the authority to do those things that we, the people in the states, couldn't easily do for themselves. So when you're reviewing the Constitution, you might think of it in that context. The original intent of the authors of the Constitution and the understanding of we the people that approved the Constitution at the state conventions must be the interpretation used today, at least until it's amended. The intent of the authors can be found in the Federalist Papers and Joseph Story's commentary on the law. The understanding of we the people can be found in the minutes of the state constitution conventions. And all of this information is on my website, which can be found at pocusa.info. Easy way to remember that. POC stands for Preserve Our Constitution in the United States of America. If you want information about how to preserve our Constitution in the United States of America, go to pocusa.info. And it's all right there. For those of you that might not be familiar with the Federalist Papers were written by James Madison, who was a father of our Constitution, Hamilton, who was a major player, and by John Jay, who was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court appointed by George Washington. These folks understood the Constitution and what it was about, and they wrote papers explaining those. We'll talk about some of the Federalist Papers as we go through this conversation. James Madison said in Federalist 14, "First, remember that the federal government is not charged with the whole power of making and administering laws. Its defined jurisdiction is limited to the specific objectives of the whole republic, mostly found in Article 1, Section 8. The subordinate state and local governments will retain all of their authority to take care of all other concerns." Federalist 41, Madison, again the father of our Constitution, stated, "The purpose of government is security against foreign danger." That's the primary purpose of our government, is security, our safety. Regulations for the intercourse with foreign nations. When we were under the Articles of Confederation, individual states were making all their own trade agreements. Sometimes they would drop out of the agreement. Sometimes the foreign governments would play one state against the next. So we need to learn to speak with a single voice when it came to foreign trade. So that was one of the things the Constitution did. The maintenance of harmony and proper intercourse among the states. We mentioned earlier about the trade problems that we had and our money becoming worthless. They had to make trade regular between the states, and that's why they gave the federal government the authority to act as an umpire, make sure that trade flowed freely and fairly. And so that was accomplished by the Constitution. And certain miscellaneous objects of general utility, like post offices, post roads, coining money, patent protection, a lot of things like that. Restraints of the states from certain injurious acts, provisions for giving due efficacy to all these powers. We talked about the injurious acts, and that was prevented by the Constitution. And the powers were given to the federal government to do only those things that were authorized under the enumerated powers. In Federalist 45, Madison states, "The powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and definite." You see the balance there? The states have massive amounts of power, and the federal government just a few. Have we turned that upside down? States have hardly any anymore because the federal government's taken away. And folks, we're tolerating that out of ignorance. We've got to stop that. That's what this discussion's all about. We have allowed the three branches of government to come together and reverse the Constitution and the 10th Amendment's distribution of powers. We're the problem, folks. We got to put a stop to that. The government gets away with anything they can until we, the people, who are the earthly sovereigns, remember, we're in control, put a stop to it. We'll talk about how we can do that.